Shalom, family, and welcome to Exploring the Motherland, the 14th episode. The people are mad and tired. This one is going to be a very interesting one, I believe, and a good one, and it's just going to show you really what's going on in the continent and why we do what we do here in Quest Unite Africa, and also it will show you all what our brothers and sisters are enduring and what they are overcoming and how we help them. But let me give you the official intro if you haven't been here. Exploring the Motherland News with Garth is a show to help promote the mission of Quest Unite Africa. Now, you all are wondering, what is the mission of Quest Unite Africa? That mission is to promote critical infrastructure and economic development for the benefit of the African diaspora and the African continent. We do this through our four main initiatives and four main pillars. That would be cultural engagement, technological innovation, business, and medical. The purpose of this show is to keep you abreast of the different news developments going on in Africa and how it relates to what we do here at Quest Unite Africa and our mission. So let's begin. Thousands demonstrate in Accra, Ghana against illegal mining in Ghana. So basically, what's happening in Ghana is the people are mad because the government is carelessly and negligently allowing different people to mine without any concern of the environment. And this has been going on for quite some time. People have created a cultural engagement initiative, which means everyone comes together and, states their grievances and comes together and, makes a stand for a purpose or cause. The cause here is to stop illegal mining because it's harming the environment, and that repercussion or consequence of the environment being, polluted from illegal mining also trickles down to crops being destroyed and a whole other litany of things that continues to put Ghanaians in strife.
Thousands of demonstrators filled the streets of Ghana's capital, calling for an end to illegal mining in the country, also known as Galamsey. Some in the crowd insisted that they would continue to pressure the government until it addresses the issue and its damaging impact on the environment.
My motivation is to see that illegal mining stops in Ghana. We need to keep taking action. We need to keep going on strikes. We need to keep protesting to catch their attention, because they're acting like they haven't seen, but we know they have.
The leaders can stop this very moment, but they are feeling reluctant to do that. It's not right. I don't know what they're waiting for, but what they are supposed to do is ban it now. They can make it a temporary ban. We don't care. All we want is just make sure the forests are reserved well. All they have to do is just march the soldiers there and stop NNPC. That's all.
Determined to push the government to take action, the Catholic Church is gearing up for a peaceful demonstration against illegal mining on Friday, while the country's labour unions are set to declare a nationwide strike on Thursday.
This attitude of the government is not surprising, because we've heard some of the members of government say blatantly that they are not stopping now, they are not stopping anytime now. All it means is that it affirms the stance, and the president who went to beg labor union, the labor union needs to understand this, that the life of Ghanaians and they themselves is threatened by this illegal activity. We say stop Galamsey and free the citizens now.
Protesters are also urging the government to free those who were arrested during the previous demonstration against illegal mining, organised by Democracy Hub.
All right, so there you have it, family. And galamsey is just basically a slang term that they use to gather and sell them as they are mining or doing their mining practices, and how they, sell the things that they mine for. So basically, what Quest Unite Africa would do to help mitigate this problem, or to help our brothers and sisters, is to get mining consultants specifically in sustainability and environmental sustainability, basically where they could come together and manage the operations of mining, set up guidelines for mining, and also forecast the implications of bad mining practices that would continue to affect the government. I mean, affect the population. And also, there's this concept that is very important when allowing mining in a country, which is called the social license. And that is a cultural engagement activity where the community as a whole comes together and makes rules and laws as to how they want mining to be done, when, and that what that looks like going forward. And then they basically are a committee that allows the licenses to be given to foreigners or the locals. So that is a measure that we could implement to help rectify this problem, as Ghanaians are mad because the government has no concern for the mining practices, and it just continues to degrade the soil and all the other things that will eventually affect the economy. I mean, the cocoa crop is literally one of the biggest crops in Ghana, and it's being threatened by illegal mining because the acidity of the water that they use for mining is also a problem.
Now, the StopgalamNow and Free the Citizens protesters have petitioned the Attorney General to enter a nolle prosequi in the prosecution of the 53 protesters arrested on September 22 for alleged lawlessness during an anti-Galamsey demonstration. This comes after they concluded their 6-hour march on Thursday, October 3. Charles Ousukumi covered the protest for Channel 1 News and reports.
The menace of illegal mining has become a pressing issue in the public sphere as these activities continue to pollute Ghana's water sources and degrade land. Ghanaians from all walks of society have voiced their disapproval of the state's inaction in decisively addressing the canker. From September 21 to 23, members of the Democracy Hub defied police advice to stage an anti-Galamsey protest at the 37 hospital runabout, leading to the arrest of 53 protesters on the second day. They were subsequently remanded in prison and police custody, with a court appearance scheduled for October 8. Since then, social media has been flooded with calls for action, particularly from the youth who have used the Free the Citizens hashtag and the Stop the Galamsey Now hashtags to demand the release of the protesters and action against illegal mining. To emphasize their demands, hundreds of young people took to the streets of Accra on October 3 for the first day of a 3-day protest. Amid heavy police presence, the protesters gathered at the Oponglo bus stop and began their march around 9:30 a.m., singing and chanting their demands.
Their only crime was to exercise their constitutional rights. And today we are suffering under democracy for exercising our constitutional right. Isn't this tyrannical?
Just before the protesters turned onto the Association International School Road, they stopped and sat on the ground for a while. I asked the lead convener for insights.
We can't just be walking and be marching as if we are happy about the happenings. We actually want to send a message out there that what is happening to us is very severe. The destruction of the spirit of democracy and the destruction of the very environment that holds our life. And two, we've sent some of our men to our comrades who have been detained at the airport police station
ourselves to send our goodwill messages to them and tell them that we are on the street here fighting for that common cause they fought for and they were detained, and then we are asking for their release. So we've sent some men to send them our message. We are waiting for the men to come back with the message, then we move on.
Afterward, the march proceeded through the airport residential area to Kaukudi and onto the Kanda Highway. Some protesters took the opportunity to educate bystanders and even police officers on the devastating effects of galamsey. However, some participants struggled with the demanding nature of the march, as one individual was seen being whisked into an ambulance. This gentleman, who wore distinctive apparel, shared with the news team the reason behind his unique look.
Your outfit is interesting. What informed your choice of outfit?
So most people see me and they think that this is COVID-19, but this is something we wear to protect ourselves from harm. Galamsey is a big harm on the environment, in our animals, and then to us human beings. So I'm wearing this to symbolize the need for us to protect ourselves, the need for us to stop galamsey. We often hear that because the water bodies are murky, those are the things we can see. But there are other ways for this mercury and cyanide and other things to get to us through the food and animals. Because wherever they dig, the cyanide and things can still enter the water table in the soil. And then it will still be transported like a highway to the plants wherever they are. So if it's grass that the goat or sheep is going to eat and pick up residue, or if it's the direct produce, we are going to ingest that produce when we eat the animal or the produce.
I'm tempted to ask you what you do.
I'm a medical laboratory scientist.
At the Africa Union roundabout, the demonstrators made another stop to sing and chant national songs. Finally, after more than 6 hours, the protesters reached their destination at the Accra Sports Stadium car park. While they encouraged greater participation, a gentleman from the Movement for Change who attempted to make political capital was quickly turned away. Spokesperson for the Attorney General's office, Isaac Wilberforce, received the petition on behalf of the Attorney General.
We fight your fight with you in the sense that we are also prosecuting all those whose dockets have come to us in respect of galamsey and illegal mining. That is what we can do in respect of our mandate in the Constitution. That is what we can do. We are aware that you have a petition for us. And I want to say that the Attorney General himself actually regrets not being here. He wanted to have been here himself, but unfortunately, the organizers of this event, your good selves, I think it may have escaped you to sort of forward a letter informing him that you would be bringing such a letter to him. So he apologizes for not being here. So I humbly ask that you accept me instead to present this petition, and I assure.
All right, family. So basically, that is a video of them protesting for those who got arrested for protesting. And we see how literally Western ideologies and, you know, Western governance is literally crumbling before our eyes. We also see that the government has no concern for the people of Ghana and are just allowing them to be poisoned. As that doctor said, at some point, whatever, you know, harmful ill effects of the soil will go down the pipeline, whether it's an animal eats it and we ingest it, or a plant absorbs it and they eat it. The government is willingly and, you know, allowing the population to be poisoned. It's kind of like us over here in the States. You know, they have no concern for us, our well-being. They literally just care about holding on to whatever vestige of money or power that the higher ups or powers that be gave them. So that's why we all need to come together and start thinking of initiatives to get our land, to get the land healed and to heal our people, so we all could heal together and come together. All right. And I mean, if you thought this story was, crazy, let's get to the next story. Good old William Ruto. Kenya's Senate to consider impeachment of deputy president. So basically, if you haven't been up to date with what's happening in Kenya, Ruto and his administration have been found out by most of the population that he is appeasing the IMF with these different policies through the finance bill just for funding. It's not even as if Ruto is, again, culturally engaging, getting to know the population and what they value and what they, what their major concern is. He really just wants Western foreign aid to keep up this optic of power or rule or being a legitimate leader under this Western influence. And it's, obviously people see it now, and it's, the title says, people are mad. So basically, people are mad because Ruto and his administration are trying to impeach the deputy president, who is under the same administration as Ruto. So they all basically have the same political basically the same political strategy. I'm not going to get into the intricacies of policy, but people know that your vice president, to an extent, holds the same what's the word? The same mindset or ideology as the leader before them, because they all came into power at the same time. So Ruto is basically trying to impeach the deputy president, the vice president, to give off this optic of, progression, or he was the sole reason for corruption, because as you know, there was, allegations of corruption in this administration, from the anti-government protests to people being deleted, to people being missing, to people, stoking ethnic hate between different tribes. I mean, it's all in the articles posted under the description, so you could go into full detail as to what's going on. So basically, this is just gonna continue to make Canadians mad, because they know that Ruto is the source of everything and the real problem, and he is literally trying to absolve himself of any blame through this impeachment.
Hello and welcome. We begin with the major political drama unfolding in Kenya. An impeachment campaign against President William Ruto's deputy is gaining momentum. Kenya, for the very first time, could see a deputy president being impeached. Now, this comes amidst tensions within Kenya's ruling party. A rift between President Ruto and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, this is now out in the open. and it further accentuates the political tensions in the East African nation that erupted after the recent deadly anti-government protests. Kenyan Senate, which is the upper house of parliament, has begun proceedings on the impeachment motion against the deputy president. Fast-tracking the process, the matter was forwarded to the Senate just a day after Kenya's National Assembly, which is the lower house, in a historic move, overwhelmingly voted in favor of the impeachment motion. High drama unfolded in the National Assembly yesterday. Inside Parliament, lawmakers engaged in a heated argument over the bid to oust the deputy president. These discussions were almost a day long. Now, outside the Parliament, cannons and tear gas. This, as in the past few days, there have been clashes between Ruto and his deputy's supporters. Now, Ruto's allies approved the impeachment motion with a majority vote. 282 MPs in the 349-member National Assembly voted in favor, way ahead of the two-thirds required. For the votes, there were 44 votes against and 1 abstention. Now, the impeachment motion accuses the deputy president of 11 charges, including insubordination, undermining the government, practicing ethnically divisive politics, and also being involved in the recent anti-government protests, which turned out to be a major challenge for the Ruto administration.
Order, members, order. Members, the results of the division on the motion are as follows. Abstentions, 1. The noes, 44. The ayes, 281. So the ayes have it.
The deputy president was also present in Parliament. He defended himself against the several charges. He denied any wrongdoing and said he will not back down and will fight to the end.
I have no intention whatsoever to resign from this job. I'll fight to the end. I have tremendous respect for our judiciary and the professional judges of the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. And in the professional manner, they have handled serious issues affecting Kenya.
While Ruto has not yet commented publicly on the impeachment proceedings, it is believed the impeachment bid is a culmination of the fallout with his deputy. 59-year-old Gachagua was handpicked by Ruto in 2022 after his win. He had weathered corruption scandals and links to the country's former authoritarian to secure the country's second top job. Now, Gachagua had belonged to a vote-rich Mount Kenya region, and his campaign helped Ruto to gain significant votes to win the presidential election. But in recent weeks, he has complained of being politically sidelined. He has also been absent from accompanying his boss when he travels abroad or returns. So what has changed now? Now, seemingly everything is rooted in Kenya's recent anti-government protests that started against the proposed tax hikes but snowballed into a larger campaign against Ruto. At least 50 people died in the protests, and the authorities were accused of mishandling the protesters. Ruto had to take some major steps to appease the public in the aftermath, like completely scrapping the financial bill and sacking his entire cabinet. Ruto appointed some opposition members in his new government, and that has reportedly shifted attention from the deputy. Gachagua says that he is now isolated. Gachagua is also accused of being involved in the protests. Last month, many lawmakers allied with the deputy president were summoned by police on accusations of funding the protests. Now, the motion against Gachagua also lists accusations that he amassed assets worth $40 million in 2 years, even as he had an annual salary of $93,000. But Gachagua, who was a former businessman, says that all his assets are legitimate. As per reports, Kenya's Interior Minister, Kindiki, is now being assigned some of the Deputy President's duties. The Interior Minister also hails from Mount Kenya and could be Ruto's next point man in the vote-rich region. Now, the Senate, meanwhile, has 10 days to wrap up the proceedings and to make a decision on the motion. It will debate on the matter next week. If they vote in favor, what implications could it have on Kenyan politics? And what really has triggered Kenyan lawmakers to launch this unprecedented impeachment motion? Now, for more on this, we have with us Stella Agara, a governance and security analyst who is joining us live from Nairobi. Thank you for being with us, Stella.
Thank you for having me.
Now, amid the rift between Kenya's president and his deputy, Kenyan lawmakers are voting to impeach the deputy president. This on charges of stirring ethnic hatred and anti-government protests. Can you take us through the main allegations against the deputy president, Gachagua, that led to the impeachment vote?
Thank you very much. I think for the viewers' benefit, I'm just going to give a summary of what the allegations are. He has been accused of going against Article 10 of the Constitution, which speaks on national values, and basically going against some of those national values that are espoused in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. He has also been accused on issues of arrogance towards his colleagues in the National Assembly, but also towards the office of the president, his boss. He has also been accused of insubordination towards the president. The nature of the structure of the office of the deputy president in Kenya is such that he deputizes the president. And so he can only act or at the behest of the president. And of course, he's at the service of the president, which is different compared to what we used to have before, a vice president who would then have a mandate of his own that he'll be able to carry out without necessarily having to refer to anyone. He has been accused of issues of integrity. There are a raft of examples that have been given of situations where he was found actually to have acted out of integrity, and majority of those are cases of either bribing, inducements, trying to influence public tenders so that his family or himself can be able to access the public tenders. And so in a nutshell, that's what really he's been accused of. But that is also what he's being accused of in the surface. And underneath, of course, there are bigger things like the succession towards the 2027 election in Kenya and the question of the leadership of his community, because it's a big voting bloc in the country.
Right. And Stella, how does the impeachment process work in Kenya? What are the next steps following the National Assembly vote?
Following the National Assembly vote, the Speaker has a responsibility to notify the Speaker of the Senate in about 2 days of the decision that has been made by the National Assembly. And then the Speaker of the Senate is going to then have the responsibility to ensure that then he activates a process to have the debate held in the National Assembly and a voting process held in the National Assembly. This has to happen within the next 7 days, starting today. Or at least starting the point of notification. Once they have engaged in the debate, the Senate will also be required to vote. And their vote could either reinforce the vote by the National Assembly or actually find that the DP can still be allowed to remain in office. If that happens, then we face a different conversation. But in the event that they vote to affirm the vote by the National Assembly, then the DP will stand impeached, and a process would have to be started to then replace him and get a different deputy president to run for the remainder of the term.
Right. And what are the potential political ramifications of this impeachment for President William Ruto's administration?
I think there are a number of ramifications to his administration. Number one is that the more the deputy president is being pushed to the wall, the more he's losing caution. In between the pressers he did 3 days ago and the conversations that he's having now, he has become a lot more willing to disclose a lot of the corruption in government, a lot of the abuses of power in government, and I think it will eventually not work for the government when he actually comes out to speak truthfully about what has been happening. He had a responsibility to protect the government, but now, I mean, if he's out, then what responsibility does he have? There are also other implications in the sense that Kenyans have just walked out of a very, very tumultuous season of protests and demanding certain changes in government. So focusing on removing someone from the office instead of focusing on actually the development issues that Kenyans brought is really, really waning the confidence of Kenyans in the government and its ability to deliver, but also its ability to stick together in order to do the task that they're supposed to be doing. They will be left with a lot of work to do to convince Kenyans that they're still properly constituted to deliver for Kenyans.
And finally, how might this historic impeachment impact Kenya's political landscape with a focus on public trust in the government?
Indeed, like I've mentioned, there are a number of issues that are going to arise. First, the public is not going to have confidence in the government's stability, because if there have been issues between the president and the deputy president, then citizens must start asking themselves questions about whether this government is properly constituted. The second one has to do with the fact that there are members of parliament who are not expected to vote against the president and the deputy president, and they did vote against him. So a number of them have experienced backlash in their constituency. They have had the citizens telling them, if you're going to vote against the deputy president, then you can't come back here to claim that you have mandate to continue to lead us. So some of them will face a lot of legitimacy issues, of which of course interferes with their role of representation. There is also the question of public confidence in the cohesion around the nation, because if you have studied the conversation properly, there are a lot of tribal undertones. Kenya has been struggling with tribalism for a very long time. It is the main instrument that is actually applied when dividing power, when dividing resources. And so there are certain communities, especially after the full disclosure of the deputy president, who are feeling like maybe they don't belong. Right. Like there are other people who own the stake in the country more than others. And so for those people, it should take a lot of convincing to convince them that then maybe this government is representative of them. The government will be hard-pressed to convince Kenyans and bring back confidence in Kenyans on their ability to deliver. Right. And they're starting from a very low baseline as well.
Stella, thank you very much for being with us.
Okay, family. So as she said, people are losing confidence in the government. The things that they have, complained about, mostly the cost of living being high and no jobs. None of those things have been, resolved or even addressed by Ruto and his administration. They basically are just trying to put this deputy president, I don't want to butcher the brother's name, Gachua, they're basically making him the scapegoat for all this, lack of a better term within our community, you know what I mean? But he's like literally putting this man up for, walking the plank for all the negligence of the government, that he's putting it all on this one man, which is insane. Because again, there's no way that Ruto didn't know all this under his administration or whatever he's alleging or accusing this gentleman of. There's no way. I mean, there's a lot of corruption going on, and there is going to be some big it's just going to keep on brewing until it's not. It's kind of like sometimes when you ferment kombucha and the pressure from the fermentation gets so strong that it just sometimes it could almost break whatever you put in there. That's basically what's happening in Kenya. But more importantly, how we can help is talking with the Kenyan people and giving them solutions as to how they can make money, or initiatives that, or business initiatives that help them, you know, take back their autonomy and give them hope in what they have. Like, for example, they are one of the countries that have like the best agriculture in Africa. It's rich in agriculture. So I don't know why they can't make initiatives to, you know, train farmers to use the crops that they literally could thrive off of. And you could literally make a business off of selling those crops within your community and then exporting those crops to other countries. That's how you stimulate your economy. I mean, hey, I'm not an economist. I'm not, you know, I've learned quite some from high school, college. Just researching is just common sense, you know, to take what your country has abundance of and make a business out of it, or make a market out of it, or control that resource so you can then create industry. I mean, but you know, they're all wicked and corrupt, so they're not going to do that. They're going to keep our people, you know, in the dark, ignorant, just like they do here in the West, on this side of the pond, or of the Atlantic Ocean here in the United States. It's like they weaponize ignorance against us, but it's not working anymore. We're all very, very well aware of it now. Things are being revealed, and people have access to information, so this can no longer work. We have to come together and create initiatives and you know, plans and strategies to help one another come together and build back up the land, and to be able to control the resources of that land, because we've all been, you know, let's just say it, this is a war against us. You know, here they gave us little resources, but they gave us the knowledge. Over in Africa, they have all the resources, but they don't impart any knowledge of how they use their resources. So you see why we need to come together to create economic growth and stability and critical infrastructure. And again, family, like, share, and subscribe. And if you are enjoying what you are watching in this show, this channel is now monetized. You could send your brother Garth a donation if you feel led to, and I would really appreciate it. And thank you. And I will continue the show. I mean, here is the reaction of some of the locals about what's going on in Kenya.
Now, Kenya's deputy president is one step closer to being dismissed from office. The National Assembly has voted to impeach Rigathi Gachagua. The lawmakers voted 281 to 44 to impeach the leader, with one parliamentarian choosing to abstain from the voting process. The National Assembly has set the ball rolling, and it is now up to the Senate to decide the deputy president's fate. Next week, Kenya's Senate is expected to debate whether to dismiss Gachagua or not. The senators will be investigating the allegations against Gachagua next week, following which there will be a vote. If at least 2/3 of the Senate votes to uphold the impeachment, then the deputy president will be dismissed. With his fate to be decided in the next few days, Gachagua has vowed to keep fighting for his position. The leader faces a slew of allegations, including stirring ethnic hatred and undermining the government. Now, Kenya's President William Ruto is yet to comment publicly on the developments and the possible dismissal that his number 2 faces. The rift between Ruto and his deputy became publicly known after deadly protests earlier this year against the proposed tax increase and the cost of living. So as the country waits to see the deputy president's fate unfold, the Kenyans have mixed reactions to the proceedings.
It is so unfortunate that they turned up in large numbers to go and impeach our deputy president, and yet there are other factors that are affecting us, which they cannot deal with them as they dealt with that issue of impeachment of the deputy president. If my opinion will count, I will say they would have gone, both of them. both the president and the vice president, because they failed this country in a big way. Ever since they got into office, there's nothing that we're seeing that is going on. All what is happening is looting of public resources, and we are very much angry with this government.
And our correspondent, Louisa Olani, has sent us this report. Listen.
59-year-old Rigathi has been at the center of controversy over his remarks on governance and alleged favoritism. The appointers that calls for his ouster reflect deeper tensions within the ruling coalition and are seen as a power struggle ahead of the next election. However, his allies argue that these efforts are politically motivated and unlikely to succeed without substantial backing from within the government. Well, the next 10 days stand significant as Senate proceedings continue, highlighting the complex dynamics shaping Kenya's leadership. From Lagos, Nigeria, Louisa Olani, we on All This One.
For all the latest news, download the VON app and subscribe to our YouTube.
Our members of parliament, shame on you. Yes, I said it. Shame on you. Yeah, not all of you, most of you. Yeah, who know what you need to do, but you never do it unless you're paid. And it's your job, it's your mandate. That's what we put you there to do. But unless someone comes and greases you or whatever, that is when you decide to pass a few other things. We've seen a couple of things come on the floor and they're passed. Look at the finance bill when it came. You guys. But the other things that really affect the common mwananchi, you guys take your sweet time. Oh, we formed a committee. We are going to. Shame on you, bro. Yes, shame on you. Yo, if you look at the energy, the zeal, the enthusiasm that our members of parliament had when they were impeaching Riggy G, you'd be amazed. Yani, these people tabled this motion, and I think it's less than a week that already passed it, done and dusted. Even members of parliament who are never in parliament were on the floor. Wow. I'm shocked. So these people can actually do their job in record time. I'm so ashamed of our members of parliament right now. Like, we have very important motions on the floor. We have very important amendments or whatever you decide to call it that we really want to pass that can be beneficial to the country. And until now, they haven't done it. They always just come up with stories. Oh, it's in the floor. It has to go through the legislature. It has to go through the executive. The judiciary is the one. A lot of stories in a catwalk, and they're just never getting what is needed to be done. And then all of a sudden, this one just passed like, my guy. You guys know people are dying, eh? You guys know a lot of things are not working. But you've decided like this is the priority right now. Like this is what needs to be passed in record time. Our members of parliament, shame on you. Yes, I said it. Shame on you. Yeah, not all of you, most of you. Yeah, who know what you need to do, but you never do it unless you're paid. And it's your job, it's your mandate. That's what we put you there to do. But unless someone comes and greases you or whatever, that is when you decide to pass a few other things. We've seen a couple of things come on the floor and they're passed. Look at the finance bill when it came. You guys.
Again, family, just this brother's reaction. For lack of a better term, he's woke to the political theater and the political stagnation of whatever government you want to structure you want under the Western ideology. He knows that, yes, they could come together really fast to impeach impeach the vice president, blame him for all these things. But when it comes to fixing the country and putting in initiatives that better the country, they're very lax in that. And that's very telling. And people can't unsee this. And we will continue to see what happens in Kenya, family. This is like, Kenya is one of the hugest countries in Africa, one of the biggest populations. So is Ghana, and so is this other country we're about to talk about in Nigeria. Nigeria. These are the three biggest countries that literally control a lot of industry going in and out of Africa, and also one of the huge, the Western influence is very huge in all those countries. British, to be, specific, the Commonwealth, the Commonwealth. So we will continue to see that there is going to be a change on the continent, and we all need to get ready for it and prepared for it and start thinking about strategies and initiatives to come together in order to benefit one another. And then the next and last story.
NNPCL raises fuel prices to 1,030 naira per litre in Abuja and 998 naira in Lagos amid market deregulation. Filling stations operated by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, have hiked fuel prices significantly in Abuja. The pump price of petrol has increased from 897 naira to 1,030 naira per litre, while in Lagos, the price has risen from 885 naira to 998 naira per litre. A correspondent who visited an NNPC station in Maitama, Abuja, witnessed long queues of motorists, many of whom expressed frustrations at the sudden price hike. Another station in Gudu, Abuja, attendants indicated that the station was adjusting meters to reflect the new price of 1,030 naira per litre. In Lagos, similar queues were observed as the price adjustments from 998 naira per litre took effect. The increase follows NNPCL's recent withdrawal from serving as a middleman in the Dangote refinery deal, a move that previously allowed the company to absorb a subsidy of 133 naira per litre to cushion prices. With NNPCL no longer involved in this capacity, marketers are now tasked with negotiating prices directly with the Dangote refinery under a willing buyer, willing seller arrangement, signaling a full shift towards a deregulated market. In my opinion, the recent fuel price hike to 1,030 naira in Abuja and 998 naira in Lagos places a heavy burden on Nigerians who are already struggling with high cost of living. This regulation aims to improve market efficiency and end fuel shortages. It is clear that the sudden price increase are affecting people really hard. Historically, as it is seen in 2012 protests over subsidy removal, such actions led to public unrest, and the NNPCL's decision to stop absorbing subsidy might be necessary, but doing so without cushioning the impact deepens the economic hardship and instability. Gradual reforms with relief measures would be a better approach to this situation. Now taking some comments, at @IAM_B model said, when Tinubu shared his ideas for Nigeria with me, I was motivated. It will be the right man for us. Now see where we are. At @chilled_Gram says, so when are we going to stand up to the nonsense going on? At Itiz Ogochukwu says, it is obvious that the present government has no interest of the masses at heart, and this is ridiculous. And finally, at Abritomi says, all men, so filling stations will be selling at 1,000 naira to 1,600 naira per litre. Foodstuffs will become more expensive. But how did this government want the poor to eat? Minimum wage is outrageously low, but every day the prices of things keep getting high. With the way things are going, a lot of people will now be living on survival mode, where they just want to survive no matter what it takes, even if it means killing innocent people, and that will be very bad for Nigeria. Thank you for staying till the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more news updates.
All right, so basically the NNPC were the sole people bringing in imports for petroleum and crude oil and there was a subsidy, which is basically just a stipend to lower prices or a specific amount that they give to Nigerians for their energy, man, what am I saying? They use for their energy expenditure, finances for their energy. This subsidy put the Nigerian government and Nigeria as a whole in sort of an inflation, and then Tinubu took away that subsidy and made the economy even worse. And I mean, they are trying to create a market where at the NNPC isn't taking in imports, and there is more they say deregulation, just free market, basically, economies. So they basically want to create an initiative where they allow for other refineries or petroleum producers to set prices and to allow them to meet the demand of Nigerians, because they really didn't have the infrastructure or the tools to get everyone gas. And again, gas in Nigeria is very, very important because they use generators. A lot of them are cut off from the electrical infrastructure. So gas and diesel generators are the only way they really get power. And obviously that's not clean for the environment, and it also comes at a price, and the prices keep going up, and there's a lot of price gouging. And I mean, one could assume that there may be some type of corruption, or there may be some type of greasing of palms to allow certain refineries like the Dagante refinery to set a price that benefits them. I mean, all this is good, but I mean, what good is it for a population that's already struggling with the cost of living that continues to go up? I mean, what should be done here is to get energy consultants or people who can help basically track the efficiency of the energy and the sustainability of the energy grid, and then implement different ways, basically alternative energy initiatives such as solar or wind. And then also they would be able to somehow allow this energy to the population, with whether it be a grant through one of a business here in the diaspora or throughout the diaspora, through a grant or an incentive. They call it an energy as a service, that they help build up a critical infrastructure that is more sustainable and energy friendly. And once we train them to do that, they will be able to pay back whatever grant or incentive or loan that we have given them in order to build that industry. And again, Asher Yah, Cindy Russell, thank you for your donation. It is truly appreciated. And I'm going to play the last video and end it soon, just for the sake of time.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC Limited, has again increased the pump price of petrol. In Abuja, the price has jumped from 897 naira to 1,030 naira per litre, while in Lagos, it's now 998 naira, up from 885 naira per litre. This marks the second price hike between September and October.
The price increase follows unconfirmed reports of NNPC's withdrawal as an intermediary in the Dangote refinery purchase deal. The increase in fuel price has been progressive following the phasing out of fuel subsidy, with the government still unable to control the issue of petrol supply to marketers and filling stations. Joining us is International Energy Advisor, Strategy and Policy, and Director, Desitin Energy, Desmond Abuifo. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me this morning. Thank you.
All right. Can we say that we can authoritatively confirm NNPC's withdrawal as the withdrawal from being the intermediary between Dangote, in the Dangote refinery purchase deal? Because if you check on their page, so far, I don't think that we've seen any statement to either confirm or deny that.
Well, thank you very much. To be very honest, there's no particular statement, but I think what we have as the closest reports coming from the NNPC. I mean, that was published sometime, I think, last month. That that's the deal which is going to trigger the NNPC's uptake on the PMS will kick off 1st of October. And very, very clearly, I think it was communicated by the communications officer, having to state very clearly that the NNPC's estimated pump price will be just around 950. And of course, there's a breakdown on that number. I think it was quite clear. Prices will range anything from 960 to 1,019 naira. But what is key in that report that was released by the NNPC was stating its base pricing model coming from the Dangote Refinery's PMS gantry pricing at 898 naira, prior to the pricing of the authorities and inspection fees to come to 950. So there has not been any particular statement from NNPC, but that's the best we see at the time. And of course, just recently we saw the price hike just about 30 or 40% more than what it used to be in the conventional market space.
Yeah, all right. Let's quickly just talk about the well, let's say false narrative that was sold about the Naira for crude agreement that was meant to start in the month of October. And the narrative that once that kicks off, there's a possibility that the price of petrol will reduce. So the general picture now is that the emergence and the start of the Dangote refinery, the Naira for crude agreement, none of that has affected the price of petrol in a way that favors Nigerians. So quickly share your thoughts on that one, and was this all a lie?
To be very candid, I don't expect the price to come as low as the market just demand, because already if you go down to the fundamentals of why the price is already what it is, we see that there's already pushback in terms of the issues around the Dangote refinery and the pricing of its PMS. And as you would expect, with the volume of our demand daily in Nigeria compared to pricing of these products, the pricing model will definitely not go slow as we'll expect it to be. In fact, there are different school of thought that has made it very clear that, well, the price will stay anything between 800 naira if we have our FX fluctuations a bit stable. But what drives this product is really access to this FX in terms of trying to assess the crude and then refine. There's a bottom-up calculation that every company should see. I mean, the policy made it very clear that prices should be published in the just on the website and for people to understand what prices is applicable. But what we see in recent report again, it's anything between 890, it's feasible because the Platts price of refined products on 13th of September, Platts is the standard of reporting, about 840 naira. So to your question, I don't see that coming down. Number one, and number two, the confirmation that, well, because we have Dangote now, the price will go down. That's not a way to assess the situation clearly. But if I put them advisory clearly, all of this will be solved by our fundamentals. We would need to go back to the drawing board and get our refineries working. And then we will now be able to ensure that this issue around trying to get crude for the Naira in 1st of October will be issues that should be borne by the national companies, so that we can be able to ensure that we have the supply readily available within our 445,000 barrels per day refinery capacity in the country.
Getting our refineries working, what impact will it really make? We've been hearing and speaking about getting the refineries up and working for how many years now? We're still not, doesn't seem like we're anywhere close to having, all that working. And there are those who would say that our refineries might not be able to in any way impact lower prices, because that's what Nigerians want. They don't want to hear all these stories and all these rhetorics. They just want to see the practicality of lower prices, because the higher the prices, the higher the cost of living. So what really is the importance, first, of the refineries working, and then the practicality of it, seeing as Port Harcourt, case in point, has missed its 7th deadline?
Great, thank you. I'll start with the impacts. On a very high level, I mean, using an error of correction mechanism approach, there was a study that is published. I think one of these international organizations made it very clear that an increase in PMS in Nigeria will have a negative impact in the Nigerian economy. In fact, it will impact our GDP. Just to put it very nicely, 1% increment in PMS price, just a mere 1%, would lag our GDP by 0.7% in real terms. So this is on a general scale. However, looking at the issues in specific within the Nigerian economy, every PMS price, because everything seems to flow with the price of commodities and price of purchase of these products. We'll see our impact in the economy, increase in foodstuffs, increase in transportation, and even increase in even access to very basic amenities. And what is essential is to be able to get this sorted out, we will need to get our fundamentals right. And the Nigerian NNPC needs to come to terms with the reality and ensure that we have products available. And I think two things must be made from here very clearly, which is the price availability and product stability. The product stability might help us to ensure that we have products available for refining. To your second question around NNPC having its own impact on the overall Dangote's refining capacity in terms of the supply. Well, those were very long conversations that came out in public. In fact, Dangote came out and said, well, the NNPC now has about 7%, as opposed to the planned 20% in exchange of about 300,000 barrels of oil deal. I would have expected that to be fantastic opportunity for us to be able to get into this business much, because again, to your point around our capacity of 445,000 barrels refinery as a national capacity, which is really less than what Dangote is producing. The reports from, I think, from KPMG and Ernst & Young that says we are probably, as of then, we're doing about less than 15% capacity utilization. So the point is really our refineries are not able to deliver what you need in terms of these products refining. And then, unfortunately, we need to, look for a way out to get products, out of the country and then bring it back again on the cost. So, popularly, before we go to this to where we are, it's always good to go back to what has been the issue at the era of the 650 naira and so on.
Okay, family. So all the links are in the description. You could watch the rest of that video. Basically, another point is the lack of infrastructure or the lack of training for Nigerians to fully utilize oil and crude oil petroleum. I mean, literally, Nigeria has to be one of the biggest oil producers, or is sitting on some of the biggest oil reserves in the world. That's not even like hyperbole. So it's like alarming and just downright, just doesn't make sense that the population for so long hasn't been able to utilize their own resources and have been taking in imports. And now the government is trying to create these initiatives for these refineries, but there isn't really any transparency or training or empowerment or involvement of the people. It just seems like the government is still trying to find a way to have a foothold in everything, and allowing for deregulation of the naira deregulation of the oil markets is going to literally bite them in the butt if they don't find measures to do it responsibly and do it in a way that doesn't hurt the already struggling population. Because I tell you, all three, like I said, all three countries, or at least one of them, it's just going to turn up. And literally, these are facets of Western policy and ideology. And once they lose these countries, and once our brothers and sisters wake up, and well, they are waking up, they continue to wake up, we need to be ready to come together and move in a way where we can both benefit one another through business, medical, cultural engagement, basically getting to know one another and basically realizing we're more similar than different. And other initiatives, technological innovation. As I said before, there's so many people in the diaspora who have the intelligence and experience to help expand infrastructure as it pertains to oil, as it pertains to distribution, as it pertains to refinery. So there's really no excuse anymore. We all have to come to the table and do our part. Well, thank you, family. Again, like, share, and subscribe. And join me next Friday for the 15th episode of Exploring the Motherland at 10 a.m. at this channel. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Shabbat Shalom.